Hey everyone, it's Wendy at the Weekend Quilter here, and I'm partnering up with Fiskars and Michaels to present to you my latest video tutorial on how to create this scrappy quilted letter bunting. It's so quick and easy to create, and if you're an avid quilter like I am, most often you're going to find lots and lots of scraps that you've been saving up, as well as some batting scraps. So this is really the perfect opportunity to use them. So this project is super easy and it's quick to make. All you really need is just a few basic tools, as well as just some basic sewing machine skills. So let's have a closer look at what you're going to be creating. So here's a close-up of the project that we're creating. It's so cute, it's so easy to create this. The little sort of jaggedy zigzag edges here, they're created with Fiskars pinking shears, and I'll give you a closer look at how to use those shortly in the tutorial. Once you get the basics down on how to create this, you can make birthday banners, you can make name banners, you can make all sorts of things to celebrate different milestones or to decorate your place. Really quick, easy tutorial. Let's go to my desk and see what tools you're going to need for this project. The tools that you're going to need for this particular project, I think a lot of that you would probably have at home already, but if not, be sure to head on to your local Michaels store and your Fiskars aisle to pick up a lot of these tools. I would say the only really specialty tool that I had used in this is the pinking shears. So this is the Fiskars pinking shears. It's got like a zigzag edge along here, and that's what this is the tool I use to get that really cute zigzag effect. You can find this at your local Michaels store. The purple handle is absolutely gorgeous, and it makes it so easy to identify between any of your other like scissors that you have. Maybe it's a fabric or your paper scissors. I've got the classic orange Fiskars scissors. This is going to be my paper scissors. I'm going to use this to cut the paper templates for the letters. You need a rotary cutter. I love this rotary cutter. It's one of my new favorites. I love the retractable safety cap here at the top, sort of magnetic tool here. It makes it really easy for the rotary cutter blade to come on and off, and it's safe to then have that replaced. Cotton thread here, this is to help with sort of stitching down the letters. I like to use a contrasting thread color. A fabric pen, you could use a fabric pencil or a chalk, whichever is going to help you out with marking those letters on the fabric. I got the seam ripper, our best friend. I've got a small quilting ruler, as well as this really cool tool. This is one of Fiskars' new tools. It's a handle, it's a squidgy handle. I've got a bigger version of it, and all you got to do is just press it down and hold it. And what it does, it gives you that extra sort of stability when it comes to cutting your fabrics or your paper templates. So there's that. It comes in two sizes. I've got some rope here, and this rope is a rope cord, and this is what's going to be used to sort of allow you to hang your bunting. A cotton ribbon here, and this is like roughly ½ an inch thick with wire cement, and this is really to help with creating that loop for your letters, so you can string them along here. And what else do you need? You need some batting spray. I've got this really long quilting ruler, and what's really cool about this tool, it's got this inbuilt rotary cutting blade, which I'll just show you how I use that in a moment. Scraps. I'm going to need some scraps. This is just some quilting cotton that I have left over from our project. Some batting as well. Just basically something that's enough for the number of letters that you're going to be using for the particular project. You also need like sort of like a fairly bigger piece of quilting fabric to help out with sort of filling out the space or the back of these letters. Going to need some double-sided fusible webbing. This is typically used for like applique projects. Also need a printer to then be able to print out these letter templates as well. I've got the whole full letter set as well as numbers, and a love heart shape at the very end if you wanted to add something really special. So these templates are free download, and the download link is in the video description. You're gonna need an iron, a safety pin, one last thing as well, and it's really cool. I'm just gonna move some of the stuff to one side so I could show you what it is in its full glory. So it is Fiskars wool pressing mats, and I was really surprised by this. I was under the impression that Fiskars only does cutting tools, but they actually do wool pressing mats too. So this actually folds out to be a lot longer than what it really is. So it's really cool. This foldable wool pressing mat is awesome. It's great for quilting retreats, or if you're just going to your friend's place for a little sewing session or a crafting session. Love it. It's just really perfect, especially with the little top handle as well. All right, so enough chit-chatting. Let's get sewing. I'm so excited. Okay, so first things first, let's have these letters all printed out. Again, like I mentioned, you can find the download link in the video description. So I'm gonna cut out the heart. I like to use a rotary cutter for those straight, sharp edges along the outside. It get a little bit dicey when you get to more of like the concave parts of the letters. So I like to just grab my scissors and just carefully cut along the dark solid line there. I sometimes worry that I might go a little bit overboard by accident and accidentally cut on the actual letter bit. So I'm gonna line up my ruler with this straight edge here, and you get the handle, give that extra pressure, stability, and cut. Go. All right, so I've got my letters and I got a heart as well for my Nina Quilted Bunting banner. The iron, and then start pressing the fabric scraps here. So I'm gonna fold out my new Fiskars wool pressing mat. Open, start with this beautiful blue color. So these are going to be for the letters and the hearts. And then I'm going to grab my fabric that I'm going to use for the background of the letters. Okay, so I've got my letters all saved up here. So what did I say? I'm going to use this blue for the heart. And again, so I'm laying the template upside, so you're facing up this way, and it's touching the right side of the fabric. So if you're using printed with a print on it, so something like this, and it's got the wrong side, so you want the wrong side of the template to be touching the right side of the fabric like this. I'm gonna put this here. It doesn't have to be completely perfect, but I'm just gonna get a rough outline of the heart. So I'm gonna hold it with my hands, just carefully, got my rotary cutter, and just cut around it, giving a little bit of space around it. Doesn't have to be perfect. You can see it's quite jaggedy, totally fine, because you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go and use a pair of fabric scissors later and cut this more neatly. I'm gonna get my sheet of double-sided fusible webbing. So you're gonna find that there's gonna be two sides to this. So there's one side where you can just tear off the paper. And then as you're tearing off, you can kind of feel there's like a sticky side here. So that's one side of the adhesive. So just carefully tear off this paper. Pop it aside. Depending on the number of letters you're going to be using for your bunting banner as well, you may need more than one of these. So I'm just going to roughly stick this on top. See how, I feel like every time I do this, it's sort of like a Tetris game. How can I maximize this? Let's see. I may need to get another sheet of this double-sided fusing webbing. Here we go. All right. And when you do this step as well, make sure you do keep this this protective paper here, so then you can slap it back on this this parts that you haven't used, and then you can save it for another project. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is now get my fabric pen. You could use your fabric pencil, whichever your weapon of choice is, and then just trace around this. So we have all the letters traced out onto the fabric. So we've got Nina spelt out. So I'm going to pop these aside, and now what I'm going to do is going to cut on the drawn lines. And when you do cut these letters out as well with the double-sided fusing webbing, just really take your time with it, just because the fabric right now, when it's touching the one of the adhesive sides of these double fused webbing, it is just temporary. I've got the letter N, I, N, A, and the heart. Really taking shape. It's so cute. Grab this piece of fabric that I had earlier, got it laid out here. I'm gonna get my letters again, and I'm gonna lay this out on top here. I have the fabric folded, so there's 2 layers here right now. So you're gonna have it for, say, 2 layers, because you're gonna have that that background fabric come through at the front and also on the back to kind of cover up that batting layer. The letter N, space it out, just to make sure that there's also enough spacing around the letter as well, so then later on when you do get your picking shears, you can then trim it, and got a little bit of spacing there. Okay, so I've got that. Now we're going to use this nice long ruler with the inbuilt rotary cutter blade. It is one of Fiskars' newest tools, and you can pick this up from Michaels. I'm gonna lay this on top, and so I'm gonna cut along the line here. But before I do, I'm also gonna pop on this rotary cutter handle as well. So it's got this nice suction at the bottom, and what it does is it's gonna be plopped on top of this, and this is going to give me that extra security to stop it from slipping and sliding. So I'm just going to apply a bit of pressure on here. It's got a nice little suction here. I love this new ruler as well, so then if I'm ever doing any horizontal cuts like this, I don't have to go for a weird awkward body changeover like this, how I normally would if I use a traditional rotary cutter. All I'm going to do is just slide it across, and that's it. So apply a bit of pressure and then slide across. And I'll pull this away. Oops, here we go. Ta-da! And I'm gonna pull these letters away first. Oops, here we go. And you know how I mentioned there was like 2 layers in between. So I'm gonna slot the batting that I have here in between, and I'm gonna use the long quilting ruler again to cut that for me. So I've got this batting in between here. Now I'm gonna get my batting spray and then just spray the layers in between. Just spray that and then place this on top. Right, flip it over this way and do the same thing too. Okay, here we go. Foldable wool pressing mat, unfold it, bring it back here. Okay, and then now I'm just going to give it a final press on both sides, and this is also to help with activating the basting spray as well. So how I mentioned earlier, there's two sides to the fusible webbing. So what we're going to do is going to carefully tear off the second side, making sure that the layer of adhesive is stuck on the fabric. See, it's like a bit sticky here. So you need to make sure that doesn't peel away as you're peeling this second layer of paper. So just be really careful as you're doing this. You also don't want to damage the letters as you're doing this. So just be really careful. Here we go. It's a little bit fiddly. Okay, so we're gonna stick the letter in here. Carefully press the letters onto this pink fabric here, and that's going to activate the glue of the double-sided fusing webbing, and that's going to help secure the letters as I'm going to stitch them down in the next step here. So just to show it to you on the demonstration or the sample here, so we're going to stitch that letter edge here. That's going to hold those layers together. I do encourage to get creative, have some fun. I'm going to use this really fun orange thread here and make those stitches. So let's go over to the sewing machine. We're at the sewing machine now, and I'm going to now adjust the stitch length to be 3. So then with the wider stitch length, it helps with when you're going through several layers of fabric. And I'm just using the straight stitch here. You can get really creative as well and use a zigzag stitch along the edge, but I'm just going to keep it really simple today and just use a straight stitch. All right, so I've got the sandwiches of all the letters here. We're going to edge stitch here. So I did this heart one just then, and with this one, just take your time, especially with the rounder edges as well. And remember to also reverse stitch at the start and the end of the seam as well. All right, now I am done edge stitching all of these letters. Here you go, here's a little close-up of it. So you see I've done that little inside of the letter A there and just nicely edge stitch across all of this. So now it's the fun part. We are going to use these pinking shears. So this is the one where we start cutting out around the letters to get that zigzag effect. And again, you can pick up these pinking shears from your local Michaels store. So let's start cutting. But before I do, I like to usually get the rotary cutter or a pair of scissors, either one of those, to just sort of like roughly cut around the letters just to reduce the bulk. So then you can then get a cleaner cut with the pinking shears. So I think I'm just gonna use the scissors. And make sure when you do cut that, you do leave enough room for the pinking shears to come in and do its magic. All right, so we'll start with the letter A. So this middle part can be a little bit challenging, so I'm gonna skip the pinking shears effect in the middle, but I will get this and just carefully cut along the edge here, just giving enough sort of space between the letter and the background so you can see it. So then when I've done that one first snip, I like to line up the teeth of the pinking shears with what I've just cut. So it creates this continuous, seamless zigzag effect, like so. And just take your time. When it does come to this sort of like corners here, sort of like, I would say concave corners here, it does get a little bit tricky to get the scissors right in. So if it does have a little bit of trouble, just cut a little notch here, and that will help out a little bit in getting that pinking shear just right up against the letter. That is much better. Here we go. So I'm going to repeat on this side. So you can see as I'm putting my pinking shears, it just kind of struggles a little bit to get over there. So, you know, getting a pair of scissors here, just cut a little notch in the corner. Just be really careful as well when you do cut that, because you don't want to cut on the actual letter here. So just on the, more so on the background fabric here. Okay, let's do it. Oh yeah, that is much better. And I'm going to slowly cut. And here you are. So this is the first letter done. And now that I've done that, we are now going to be attaching the little loops on the back of these letters. So this is the loops. So what we'll be doing now is getting those letter paper templates that we had earlier. And we're going to use the markers on there to identify where exactly these little loops need to be sewn. You can see there's these sort of like tabs at the top of each of these paper templates, so make sure that they are still here and that they actually tell you where the loop is going to be stitched on. So let's take this first letter, and I'll flip the letter backwards, so then when I do get my fabric marker, it's going to be marked on the back side. So I just roughly center it and just mark 2 here, and then that's going to help me indicate where the cotton ribbon is going to go. And I'm going to use the letter N as an example. So when I flip this over, you're going to notice that where the markers here, it's opposite. So you could either do it this way or you can flip it this way here. And then you can probably see a little bit through the printed paper where the 2 markers are. So I'm going to roughly do that here and here. You can see the little blue marks here, so that's where the loops are going to be sewn on. Marked all of it. Now, my ribbon, and I'm going to measure approximately, I'm going to use my cutting mat. They're in increments of inches, so I'm going to cut a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 little pieces of ribbon that are 1 3/4 inches long. And I'll get my rotary cutter and just carefully cut it and repeat again. So I'm going to do this a total of 8 times. Now that I've done that, so I'm going to start off the letter N, so fold in half, then create a loop across the top here. So that's where the rope is going to be, the cord is going to be looped to then hang the bunting letters. So I'm going to fold in half. The raw edge sits a little bit more than 1/4 inch below the sewn seam here. Get a sewing pin and pin. And then I'll flip it over. And then when it comes to stitching the loops, I'm gonna go to the sewing machine, and then I'm gonna follow this exact orange seam line here and sew on top of it. And then don't forget to reverse stitch at the start and the end of the seam for these loops. So essentially when you then have stitched the loop down, you actually don't see where the seam is that's holding this loop down. So it looks like this on the back side. So like this. All right, so let's hop on the sewing machine and I'll show you how. Carefully stitch, and don't forget to reverse stitch at the start and the end of the seam. So here it looks like up close. You can see it looks so seamless, this stitched on top. So it looks like that on the back. So I'm going to continue on for the remaining parts of the letters. Got the little tabs above now stitched across the top now, and this is how it looks like. So this is how it looks like on the back. We're now up to the final process of this whole project, which is now looping in the cord through those loops that we've just stitched up. So I've arranged it in the order it needs to be in. I get my cord. This is where the safety pin comes in handy. And what I'll do is I sort of put it through the rope. Doesn't have to be completely perfect, because what I'll end up doing is actually tying this end. So if it frays a little bit, it's okay. All right, so I've popped the safety pin through, close it up. Now, starting from one side to the other in order, we're going to be threading this cord through. I might just do a zoomed in version of this so you can see letter A. And so this safety pin almost acts as if it's a needle, and it threads through like so. Get a bit of slack going. All right, here we go. So I'm just going to move this further along like so. I'm going to move it further. I'm going to give myself roughly, I would say about 20 inches of slack at this end here. And this is going to probably give me enough room to then, so measuring about 20 inches for the cord here, from the end to roughly about here. And this is just going to give me a bit of like slack and room so I can tie the bunting onto something. And then I'm going to get the letter N here. Oops, I'm gonna get my pen as like a marker as to where roughly where 20 inches is. Slide this across the letter N. Okay, so now that that's there, I'm gonna move the letters and just space it out as if this is how it's gonna look like when I hang it up. So like that. Doesn't have to be completely perfect, because you can always then correct it when you do hang it up. I'm just going to move this a little bit further down. So, okay. And then I'm going to measure about 20 inches from this edge of the heart here. Okay. Get some slack going here. Right, here we go. And measure about 20 inches all the way up to here. Get my scissors and cut. So now that we've done that, make sure my letters don't fall out. Okay, so now that we've done that last bit here, we're going to do a double knot. It's just as simple as that. Do a double knot to secure that edge. And I'm just going to do it again. So if it does decide to fray at the very end, which is kind of what it's doing now, you have that knot to save your letters and your cord too. We're going to do it on the other side as well. We got the little loops at the end, and here we go. Got my little Fiskars snipper tool, and then you just go in a little snips and carefully remove the loose threads. And I love this tool because it gets these little bits of thread. And I do it on the back side as well. And you clip, 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 and that's it. And there you have it. This is how the completed project looks like. Thank you so much for joining me, Wendy of the Weekend Quilter, and Fiskars and Michaels in this latest video tutorial on how to create this scrappy quilted letter bunting. You can find all the tools that we used today at your local Michaels store. And if you want more quilty inspiration and ideas, be sure to check out the.weekendquilter on Instagram or the-weekendquilter.com. Anyway, I hope to see you soon. Bye.